It's about time I pass the microphone to the second speaker, Kurt Thielen. Hello, Kurt. Let me say
Hello,
some
Nopi.
words about your really impressive bio, dear Kurt. We are very glad to have you here. Kurt Thielen is the founder and managing director of Zebralution, one of the biggest digital distributors for music and audiobooks in the world. Thielen started his career working in a record shop in 1979 and was the head of Rough Trade Records and later Zoba Records in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for more than 20 years, working with a wide range of acts from New Order and the Smiths to Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and Justin Timberlake. That's really impressive. After the company has been sold, he founded Zebralution as the first real digital distribution company in Germany with worldwide focus. In 2007, the Warner Music Group acquired Zebralution. Since 2010, digital audiobook and especially streaming has become an important factor in Zebralution's portfolio. In April 2017, Thielen bought Zebralution back from Warner's together with experienced industry executives. So what else we have to say? It's a really big deal. I want to close with this info that Kurt Thielen in 2018 was awarded as Audiobook Person of the Year in Germany. So, dear Kurt, please, we have our ears open to listen to you.
Hello from very sunny Berlin today. We have a very lucky day today. It's like sitting here right next to the river Spree, and the sun is shining, and we have a really good day here. As Nopi already told you, I'm an old hand in the music business since 40 years or so, which is really frightening. But it's been a really good school for me and for what we do now in this company. As you know, we founded Zebralution in 2004 as a distributor for independent music, but we already had audiobooks in our catalog then, but which was not playing such a significant part at the time. In 2010, we partnered with Lübbe Audio to explore more possibilities with audiobook. And one of the things we started doing, other than using download channels, we went to streaming services and started putting on audiobooks onto streaming services. And the first result we had after putting 50 audiobooks onto the Napster platform at the time as a test, we got back an accounting for 10,000 euro from them for a month. And we all thought, wow, there's something in this. This is really, really exciting, and we should really try to go that path. We've gone on since then with many partners in the German and international audiobook industry, and have built a very successful business out of this. And in 2018, we decided that we'll go into podcast as well to really go all the way in audio, so that we represent music, audiobooks, and podcast, and become what is fairly unique still, an all audio company, which is like what we feel and how we present ourselves. I'm always too fast. So I think what would be interesting for you, especially in Greece, would be to see the amount of outlets we have here, which we serve in Germany and elsewhere. There's still some more. Corinna already has told you very competently about Audible and who they are and what they do. And they are, so to speak, the top dog in digital distribution of audiobooks. They are the top shop in the world in this moment. And they offer a download subscription service, which means you buy an icon, like a coin for to buy an audiobook for €9.99 every month if you go for that subscription. They're 100% Amazon daughter, so the access to Amazon goes via Audible as well, which is important. They had a deal with Apple Books as well, but that, as Corinna as well pointed out rightly, that exclusive arrangement has gone now, and Apple Books are a separate partner for us, and a very important one, because they take audiobook very, very seriously too. So the same with Google. So you see that a lot of our partners are really, really big international companies, and they obviously have their own agenda and their own approach to all these things. Quickly coming back to the question which was put to Corinna, local German platforms, there's not very many. There's Tolino, which is an ebook and audiobook platform founded by big German retailers, which is probably the biggest we have here in this country. But when you look at the competition, obviously it is very international, it's very American focused, and it's really huge companies. BookBeat, Storytel, and Nextory are audiobook specialized services too. They all come from Scandinavia, so that's what Corinna added as well. BookBeat used to be a download subscription, is on a different way now to streaming as well. Storytel and Nextory are streaming subscriptions, but for audiobooks only. These services play a bigger and bigger role and are in direct competition with Audible. What we have specialized in the last year, we service all these companies too, all these big retailers too, but what we have specialized as Zebralution in the last 10 years is going to companies like Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, or YouTube Music. And I think that might be especially interesting for publishers in Greece, because a lot of the other shops like BookBeat, like Storytel, like Audible, don't have national outlets in Greece. But there is Spotify, there is Deezer, and there's Apple Music, which people have access to. The great thing about all these outlets for streaming music services is that they have huge numbers of subscribers. In Germany, we estimate that there's between 12 and 15 million subscribers to streaming services. And as we all know, with Netflix and Spotify, young people don't buy CDs anymore. They don't download stuff. Streaming, an access model, as we call it, so you have access to your content rather than owning it, is something which young people absolutely prefer, and they a lot of them don't even understand anymore why they should be owning that stuff, because it's available all the time. The big advantage for audiobook in this is going with Spotify, when we find huge numbers of subscribers there, which already have a subscription. So to them, it is an extra medium, and they discover it, and we open up doors for a new generation of audiobook lovers. What are the rules? What is important in this digital world for audiobooks? I think what is really very important is that you have a broad network, so that you go to all the possible stores and don't focus just on one or two. So try to reach as many people as possible. Usually I go to the convention of the American audiobook publishers, which takes place in New York in May every year. Hardly surprising, we couldn't go this year. It didn't take place this year. But last year, the guy who always does a fantastic presentation of numbers in the audiobook market, American audiobook market, Tom Webster from Forrester Research, when asked about what his main conclusion of all the facts he had presented in this year was, say, go where the people are, go to as many platforms as possible, present your repertoire wherever you can. I think the second important thing is visibility, because if you're in the platforms and you're not like people can't see you in any way, that's a difficult thing. So for instance, in the streaming services, we build a lot of playlists, profiles, and there's features. We have an app called Spooks, where you can, which is like a search engine for the streaming services, where you can find audiobooks. For instance, in Napster, you don't have a metadata field for the narrator, but sometimes the narrator is very, very important, especially if it's an important actor, well-known artist. Then you wanna enable the search for that, but in the music services you can't do that. So we've solved that problem by going to this app, Spooks. What you can do to promote your audiobooks is connecting to social media. Especially Instagram has become a really important platform. I know your publishers, you know that for books as well. It's the same for audiobooks. Being on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is really important to reach the digital audience, especially. Nobody will go from advertising in a print magazine to a digital platform. That way is too long. So you need to be one click away from a sale or from a stream through social media. I think that's really important. The next point is a bit of wishful thinking, because it doesn't always happen because of production lead times and possible windowing, so going later with streaming than with download, for instance, which some publishers still do. But ideally, you want to present your audiobook at the same time as the print book, the normal book, because when you do promotion for it, the audiobook benefits from it in the same way as a print book, for instance. And lastly, I think it is really important for you to understand that metadata is the most important thing in the future when it comes to digital sales. You need to tag your releases with meaningful words, and you have to be, the search needs to find your book. So obviously we are a very experienced company in that, and we support our publishers in that, but it is in everybody's interest that everybody works on metadata really hard and really precisely, because that's how you will be found in the future in all digital platforms. The digital market, you have heard a lot about the discussions in the music industry about the revenues which come from streaming, for instance. And those discussions are still ongoing, and some people are not happy about it, some people are. Thing is, in the end, the music industry was saved by streaming, because through the going down of a physical product, the CD, and by piracy, it was very, very hard for the music industry to survive, and the music industry nearly shrunk by half. in the last 4 or 5 years, because of streaming, the music industry has come back and has experienced a renaissance. As I said before, streaming is not the only option, but maybe when I think about Greece, and you know much more about the market than I do, obviously, that could be a good way to go audio, because there is big music platforms already there. Here, the models are different. As I said, there's download per list price, like on Apple Books. That's an a la carte model, which still works very well here in Germany. Then there's audiobook subscription models, like Audible, where you give them a certain price you think about, but there is a factor by which we diminish the rate so that they get to $4.99 or $9.99 prices. And there's the subscription services where you get paid per track. You get paid very little per track. It's something like half a cent in most cases. But if you have an audiobook which has 100 tracks, that gives you 50 cents. But the number of subscribers brings it up to a level where it gets really interesting. And you've seen the very useful calculation that Corinna has provided us with. So as a rule, the more tracks, the more I get, but you can't do 30-second tracks. You have to play according to the rules to the services, and your tracks in Spotify or other streaming services shouldn't be shorter than an average music track is. We're talking about 3 minutes here, right, in the moment. And the services are looking at that in a more close way than ever before. So what is, as you can see, as we said before, download stores pay the most per audiobook, but the reach of streaming services makes it very, very attractive. And our top author, 𝗧𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗶, because of a book which was made into a movie as well, and the Khaleesi from Game of Thrones played the title role in it, or the main role in it, and she's very popular. We reached 1.5 million people who listened to an audiobook by 𝗧𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗶 in German, which is an enormous number which no other service can reach. So that's about it. That's really what I can add from the distribution point of view, and I'm very, very happy to answer your questions, and I'm really keen to find out more about the Greek market as well, and where you see possibilities to go there. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kurt. That was really, really interesting. Very new information for us. Many questions, but first of all, I just want to say my question, and after the rest. Dear Kurt, do you think that audiobook is the future? I mean, we live in a world full of millions of images spread around the internet world and space, and some articles speak about this image fatigue. Are we tired of images and all this storm of information, and we will go back to the pure sound, the words in our ears? What do you think?
I think it's not either or. It will always be a combination, obviously. But like coming from the music business, like we stared at YouTube for years and years and years, and like, this is the way it's going. And then audio streaming services showed us that there's a huge demand for just listening to. And, you know, like suddenly we found out that you can't really watch a video under the shower or when you're driving a car, and that just listening has a total different effect on you. And in the research which was done in the United States of America, the surprising thing was that the trend was going from people listening on the commute, on the way to work or to university or to school. That was, for many years, the biggest opportunity for people to listen to an audiobook. That has changed over the years, and people do listen in their living rooms or whilst they're preparing a meal to audio, because it has an effect of calming. It has an effect of making you feel more comfortable. And I think that's something which we've seen in the pandemic as well here in Germany. Kids' repertoire has risen enormously. People don't want their kids just to stare at a screen all the time. They want to listen, they want to focus in a different way. I think audiobook is a big part of the future and has an excellent future, but it's obviously not the only future there.
Yes, I agree with you. But I do believe that we start to discover again the magic of the sound of the words in our ears. That's the real magic. I would like to have more time to discuss with you all these kind of ideas, but we have many questions from the participants, and I think we should give them now the word. The question is, so much growth for audiobooks comes from a streaming subscription nowadays. For a new market, do you believe that's the way to go too, or download to keep can be also an option?
As I said before, I think you should go every possible way you can. I don't know enough about the Greek publishing market, to be honest, and the audiobook publishing market. I know a little about the music market. And I know people are not particularly buying CDs there. So I would probably not advise anybody to go the physical route in Greece. But I think whatever the opportunities are, you should go there. We have some Greek music labels in distribution, and they seem to be doing really well in streaming. Better than in download, to be honest. And I think that's a general trend. And it's very hard for me to say something, you should do this or that in Greece, because you know your market and the people much better. But it's something we see, like when I look at Latin America, for instance, which was always a difficult market for music and for audiobook. But through the streaming service, the numbers of people paying for consumption of music and audiobook has risen so much that it's suddenly a very interesting market. And I could imagine that something like that could be true for Greece as well.
How many audiobook titles do you believe are necessary to kick off an audiobook in countries like Greece, population 11 million people?
How many one can sell? Is that the question? It's difficult to tell. Like because I've become such an audiobook fan. I've done a very little publishing company myself. We have 20 titles, and we lost probably money on 10 of them, and we made money on 10 of them. But it's something. Is that a good rate, Corinna?
Not bad.
Actually, I think I'm making it up. It's probably worse than that. But overall, it's okay. But it's something I think. I don't know what a studio would cost in Greece, and I don't know what your distribution cost is and your overhead in Greece. I'm sure that's different from Germany, but I think you should always aim to at least get a couple of thousand sales, I think, then it starts to become interesting. And these sales in the streaming world, like is 100 tracks is a sale, for instance. I think that could be interesting, but it's very difficult for me to tell. What do you think, Corinna?
We always say if you have 1 million streams per audiobook, then it's a success. And if it gets more, of course, then better.
How should publishers approach localizing audiobooks? Example given, translating a book into a different language and producing an audiobook from it. Is there something they need to focus on apart from the traditional localizing process? You work with translation books, translated books also, I suppose, not only local.
Yeah. Yes, we get the translation normally by the book publishers or from the translators themselves, and yeah, that's normally no problem. The costs are the same.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
we are calculating with this 10% or this 55% of the proceeds. And if it's, for example, a German author, then he gets a little bit more. And if it's, for example, a British author, then of course the costs for the translation have to be in that.
It's the same with the print book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Do you publish dramatized or not dramatized audiobooks for adult fiction?
We usually publish only non-dramatized records, but we have some audio plays taken from broadcasting companies, and that's quite nice. But it's very important. Not only important, but it's very with high costs if you make a radio play. But in the children's market, radio plays are very popular. And perhaps Kurt can say something about the three.
Yeah, it's like we have a lot of dramatized kids content as well, but unfortunately we don't have the biggest one, which is called Die 3 Fragezeichen, the 3 question marks, which is owned by a company called Europa, which goes through Sony Music, and they are the 3 question marks are the biggest artist on both Apple and Spotify in Europe, because every episode of theirs is #1 in the charts there, and it's absolutely huge. It's bigger than Ed Sheeran and Beyonce, and everybody turns over more than anybody there. It's quite amazing, but that seems to be a very, very German-centric thing. Whenever I try to explain that to people in the UK or in the United States who have a big audiobook market as well, they just shake their heads and can't believe it. It doesn't work the same. It seems to be a very German thing.
Oh, I see. Yes, I think it's not the same. For me personally, I believe that classic literature shouldn't be dramatized, but this is a personal aspect. And maybe in Greece, I don't know how this would work.
It's much more expensive. That's the big handicap, because you obviously need a lot more narrators, and the studio and everything gets more expensive. But what happens, Corinna, correct me if I'm saying something stupid here, but it happens in Germany a lot in cooperation with radio stations, where radio stations pick up part of the costs, and then all radio stations produce it, and audiobook publishers buy the rights of the radio stations. Is that right, Corinna? That does happen, yeah.
So we did also, yeah.
Yeah.
Also
So
another,
maybe that's the way in Greece. I don't know.
yes, we have to see. I don't know either.
Do you have radio plays? Do you have radio plays by broadcasting
In fact,
companies?
we used to have, when I was a child, I do remember very well listening theater plays in the radio. It was very, very popular for many, many years, and I still remember that. And we can still find that on the web now, but I think not now, not really.
Mm.
They don't produce. I mean, we have an institution, a cultural institution that produced some kind of these things during the Caradine, but it was a very special thing. Yes, but it was very popular many years ago. I mean, you know. We have to see how this could work today in Greece. Maybe it could work very well, because I can see my son, 12 years old, and he likes very much to be with his mobile and listen and watch, etc. So, okay. Let's have another market question. Can you please, both maybe, or one of you, develop on metadata management? What do you recommend?
Corinna, I
Metadata.
think you've
This
bought,
is
you've
interesting.
built something for us, didn't you?
Yeah, we were searching for a long time for some software house for our databases, and we couldn't reach. We couldn't get along with a already published software. So we asked an engineer to help us. And that's, of course, a little bit more expensive, but I think that is for us the right way. And so, yeah, everyone has to see how they get along with that. But perhaps there are already some solutions in Greece for publishing. In Germany, the solutions were only made for book publishers, and that was a problem. We couldn't adapt them quite well for our audiobook needs.
Yeah, it's like a digital warehouse, isn't it, where you keep all your data together, which is a really important thing. We get them from you because we, like, you know, the audiobook, you know, the repertoire, you know, the product, and can give us the information, and we then turn it into whatever Spotify or BookBeat or whoever what they need, because the metadata for all these stores is different. So we have a translation task there as well. You know?
That's the problem, and that's why we need so much Zebralution to help us in this point.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
but we need you even more, because we wouldn't have anything to do without you. You know?
I will make a question, because as I can see, the most of the questions are already answered. So I would like to ask, what about podcast? Podcast, I read that maybe is the next platform, is the next form and platform and format. What do you think, Kurt and Corinna?
I have no experience in publishing podcasts. Until now, I think it's difficult to make money with this kind of audio content. But Kurt is very experienced in podcasts, and so perhaps you tell us a little bit about it.
We founded an own company for it, as I said before, Zebra AudioNet, and we're working on this actively for 2.5 years now, and it's important to understand that it's a totally different business model. Podcasts are financed by advertising, so you need to Like we needed to reinvent ourselves as an advertising agency in that part of our business. And to be honest with you, like it was all going very well. The pandemic doesn't help because a lot of companies froze their advertising budgets. So it was more difficult in this year than we thought it would have been, but we've still done very well, I think, considering the circumstances. But it's something I'm convinced that will be broadening as well, but it's a different format. It's much shorter. It's much more about people chatting with each other. It's much lighter format than audiobook. But again, from the figures I saw in the USA, there's a close connection. The people who listen to audiobooks very often listen to podcasts and the other way around. So I think the two things are fruits of the same tree in a way. And it's something which I think helps developing audio in total, because people start with podcasts, go to audiobooks to get a different format, and especially, and that's the most important thing, and that's the beginning of your presentation, Corinna, stories are what counts in the end.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Dear Corinna Zimber, dear Kurt Thielen, thank you so much. It was very much interesting, and I do hope that next May, maybe, if everything is okay till then, we'd like to meet you at the Thessaloniki Book Fair at the Thessaloniki grounds, and why not next October to the Frankfurt Book Fair.